What's up, Anna?
Hey.
How you doing?
Good. Glad to be here.
Awesome. I'm super glad to be here too. For those of you listening, I am with Anna Hammonds, kind of founder, champion of Unite Ellis.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one, but yeah, that works.
There you go. And full of joy, full of awesomeness. If you don't know her, you need to get to know her. I am Chris Aguilar. I am recently county co-champion. I try to make Anna's job easier, so.
And you do. You do.
That's good. So Anna, tell me a little bit about like Unite Ellis, like high level, like what do people need to know about it?
Yeah. So really high level, about 2 years ago, we started Unite Ellis based off of a response to some organic collaborative work that had been happening in the county for a couple of years. Waxahachie Project, the John Maxwell team came in. We had Midlothian Project. We were piloting curriculum, having leadership conferences. All that was going really great, and then COVID hit. And so everything kind of stopped. And in response to that, we were trying to figure out what do we do. And so we said, okay, let's go out and conduct research on the county level and see what we want to do. And whenever we conducted research, I was expecting to find like one really big fat problem that we could just write some action plans around and implement and just be done. And but instead, what we found was you go to one city and they have relationships, social, situations, social services, leaders, they have needs, they have gaps, and you go 5 or 10 minutes down the road, totally different.
That's crazy.
Completely different. And then so here we are, a county that has 10 plus major regions like that are all different. And so then our question was, well, how do we all work together while being able to flex and pivot within each individual space? So when we rolled out Unite Ellis, the very first thing we focused on was dividing the entire region up into 10 different zones, which all are coordinated to the 10 ISDs in our district. And then we've set up network teams. And the entire goal is just to work within the networks in the geography to help people flourish and thrive in their communities. And that can look like a lot of different things, but we're all about collaboration and coming together to work together. That's the high level, but there's a lot more to it.
Well, I love that. You mentioned those like topic specific things.
Yeah.
And so what were some of the things that you guys identified early on, like across county, that you guys could work?
Yes. So there were 5 major categories that everyone across the county identified. Like one was transportation, affordable housing. One was actually working together, collaborative work, which we're like, hey, we could help with that. One was mental health, and I'm forgetting the 5th one, but so mental health was one from the beginning that everybody was like, absolutely, we need to focus on that. So again, we're not a mental health organization, but we're a convener, we're a collaborator. So we said, okay, well, we can, in addition to establishing all the network teams geographically, we'll now bring all the mental health providers together. So we did that, brought a mental health team together and basically work with them to identify their goals, how we're working, and just help to keep motivate them towards actions to help the mental health topic in our county. And then the other one was housing and homelessness. That is by far right now, I would say, if I had to pick one major need in our county that we need to be addressing at a higher level, that is our one. And so we bring all the people together that touch that topic or want to have input in that. And we try to work on actions and push that item forward, whether it's really big, like statewide approaches, all the way down to like literally how are we getting this person off the street right now? So, yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any like stories that you can share of successes that maybe some minor things that you guys have done in the last couple of years?
Literally just within the last couple of weeks, I try to keep notes of this because there are good things happening all the time, and Absolutely. We're going so fast. I'm like, we need to be talking about this more of the good things. So like, for example, one mom and kid, they've been living out of a motel for a year, and they were able to get a rent house, which that was like, yay, so awesome. Glad that we weren't getting the call of them being evicted. Like they were actually moving to the rent house, but they had no furniture. So they're like, they needed help with furniture. So we sent it out to the network team. All of a sudden, everybody's like, I've got a couch, I've got a dresser, I've got this. And it all came together, and that was housed, which, it was done. We have another one, From our domestic violence organization, the Heights, they have a family or a mom and 2 kids coming out of a situation, and the kids needed clothing. So, I mean, these might be minor things, things that come out of a homeless or housing situation or out of a mental health situation or out of another situation where someone's not thriving or flourishing, and we're trying to help the immediate need. So almost like the crisis management, most basic needs of what is going on with someone, get that need met, but then be able to come back and say, okay, so what else is going on? Like, how do we continue to walk forward and maybe not repeat a cycle, or how's next month looking? So it's getting in there and taking care of that need right away, and then continuing to walk with them long term.
Awesome. So backing up just a bit, you talked about one of the needs that you guys had identified was working together. So how have you seen, what was your strategy on getting these different sectors of leadership at the table?
Sure.
And, what does that look like in terms of those meetings?
So the first year and a half, we focused on setting up what we call a relational infrastructure. In that relational infrastructure, again, we took the 10 geographic areas of the county, and within each area, we set up a network team. And so we work within the 5 sectors. So education, our schools, faith-based, our businesses, government, and our nonprofits. And so in each city area, we go and say, do we have someone representing each of those sector areas, and make sure that they at least have a seat at the table, or at the minimum we have a relationship with them. And then that way, within each geographic team, we all are working geographically. They can work across the county to their counterparts. We at any point can say, hey, we need all of our nonprofits to come together. So we immediately know all the nonprofits based off of that area. Oh, hey, we have an educational topic. Let's tap all of our educators in all the various zones. So depending on whatever it is, we function within the 5 sectors, as well as geographically, and as well as sometimes content or issue related, which would be like mental health or housing. And then we could just flex and pivot based off of whatever the need is. We call that deploying the network.
Awesome. I love that. Deploying the network. Makes it seem like we're this great army.
Like a superhero.
Yeah, it's like conquering the world. You said that this has been going on for about 1.5 years, 2 years. So how did you go from no network to 150, 200 people today?
1 million coffee meetings. No, honestly, when we first said, okay, we want to set up these networks, and of course at the beginning, everything we were kind of making up as we went. Now, Unite Ellis falls under, we ended up coming up under Unite DFW, which is a large organization in Dallas. So we're actually one of 7 counties underneath Unite DFW. But out here in Ellis County, we were kind of making it up as we go. So if we were focusing, say, on Red Oak, we would go into Red Oak, try to pull together at the table the people that we did know, explain the vision, and then we would say, what does it look like for Red Oak? Who do you want to see at the table? If we're talking about the 5 sectors, who do you know? And we would work with all of them to go out and get all the other people and bring them all together, help cast the vision, help them really grasp hold of their vision for it. Because I'm not going to come into each city and tell them, I need them to come up with, do you want to do this? Which it's been a resounding yes. Absolutely. We all want to work together, and we all want to be able to identify the need and to be able to meet the need better and more efficiently and together. So all we do is basically cultivate and help coordinate all of that, and then motivate and encourage and equip as we went forward. So we did that times 10, and sometimes times more, just because some people are cross county. So some people, may not function within a geography, or others they're the entire county or whatever. So just a lot of and a lot of coffee meetings and a lot of amazing people. That to me, I think I have the best job ever, because you take just the most amazing people in all the geographies across the county, and they all come to the table, and it's so cool.
Absolutely. So what are the current initiatives that Unite has going on?
So we do have our mental health. Our mental health team is working on multiple things like trainings. They just did a mental health first aid training. We have Care Portal, which is one of our biggest tools that we're working on right now. So Care Portal is a software that needs are entered into the software, and the need has to be with a family with a child. So that's the only common factor there. There has to be a child in the house. The need is put into the software, and then that need is emailed out to a radius of people around, that geography. And so the entering agencies, the people who can enter in a need, would be CPS, DFPS, Family Services. We have 3 of our countywide nonprofits. So the Heights, which is domestic violence, First Look, which is a pregnancy clinic, and our Homeless Coalition. And so those entities are putting the needs in, and then Unite's role has been to set up those that are receiving the needs. So a lot of churches, some individuals, some businesses, and as they receive the need, someone can go in and claim it. You can have 10 people go in and work on it together to meet the needs. Sometimes they're financial needs, like we literally just had someone who their plumbing broke, and they had a big water leak. So one partner went in and got the plumbing fixed, but then she had a $700 water bill. And so we put the need out, and that could be 7 people all pitching in $100 awesome. Or, however. So the goal there is to work on it all together. But a lot of times they're tangible needs. So if CPS is going into a family and they're saying, in order to not be removed from the home, you need to have this, and this taken care of, a bed, or maybe it's extermination of, bugs or whatever, or clothing or whatever it is. Or maybe they are being removed from the home and they're being placed with a relative. In order for them to be placed with a relative, they need X, Y, and Z items. So at that point, we put those needs in a care portal, and especially when they're tangible needs, they're taken care of.
Awesome, that's great.
And what's really cool is that gives us access to families that we may not always have access to. So we go in, meet the basic need, meet the need going on at that time, and then we could say, hey, what else is going on? How else can we walk with you through life and whatever else, that might be needed. So Care Portal is a big one. We have a goal of rolling that out across the county. We have piloted that first in Red Oak ISD. And so Red Oak ISD, the actual counselors of the ISD came on as an entering agency, so they can put requests straight in from the counselors at Red Oak ISD. And so that's been very successful. Last year, 2023, was our first year to do that. Actually,
I could share with you the stats.
Okay. Oh, you know the stats?
I do.
Okay, yes. Tell me the Red Oak stats from last year.
The cool thing about Care Portal is that, we try to work across the county. And even though Red Oak was the first, as a city to roll out Care Portal, we very much recognize that this is a county effort. So across the county, we helped 514 children, and that was as a result of 45 requests and over $66,000 of economic impact.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, that's just wild to me.
Yeah.
And that was actually, so we had 45 requests, 49 requests actually, forgive me, because it was 94 people that responded to those requests.
Yes, yeah. It's so cool, and I love that you had those memorized. But so that was just piloting in Red Oak. So now our goal is actually to work with the school districts and as well as all the other geographic areas to get that up and running, and to just be using Care Portal as our main tool to get all the requests in and take care of them. Our personal goal with Unite is not only to monitor the percentage of requests that as high as possible, 100% of requests that go in actually get met, but then also how quickly they're being met. So Care Portal is one of those where if within 5 days, if it doesn't get met, it expands the radius of people that are receiving the requests. I want to make sure we're not expanding. I want to take care of it within the first 5 days. So that's Care Portal. Another one, so we work a lot with our nonprofit agencies and social services, and our nonprofits are constantly saying, we need to know what's going on between each other. So if you have someone, sometimes it might be duplication of efforts. They go over here for bill assistance, and they might go over here, and they might go over here. So one, how are the nonprofits talking to each other on that? But also, if you have someone that they go from this agency, receive services, go to this agency, and maybe receive a different service, and so on, we still want to know that. We want to still have a comprehensive look of what that person or client is going through, so then we can maybe case manage on a larger scale and not just go in and put a Band-Aid on. Just say, okay, yeah, again, take care of the basic needs so they're not in crisis management, but what's the longer term plan? Right. So this year we're actually rolling out a coordinated care database. It's a client database to where about 10 of our major nonprofits in the county, they're all getting on that same database. And so they can share or not share, but they could share information with each other of like, Joe just came in and they needed XYZ services, but they also need this service that we don't provide, so I'm going to refer them over here. So then you refer it and all the information just goes over, and then they're not having to like redo all the entry forms, or they could just pick right up, and it not only makes us more efficient, but it keeps us very tight on, working together. So that system is being rolled out this year, which we're very excited about as well. Then we also have, it seems like the year of technology and softwares, because we have 3 different technologies.
Yeah, we do have
Our
a lot of
third
softwares.
technology, and this is the other one that everybody's talking about, is we need to be communicating. So you kind of have, like the county and the people that we're working with to help, but then you have the inside network people, which is about 150 leaders right now across the county that's like actively meeting on a consistent basis. And they are all saying, how are we staying connected and staying tighter in our communication? So if that's, our Ennis team, our network team specifically for Ennis, they want to be, talking and sharing this information. And, so-and-so's doing a pop-up food event. Please make sure and share it out to your people.
Yeah.
And how do we communicate that more and get information out more without just shooting off a million emails? So we're rolling out another communication platform in order to do just that with not only our 150 network leaders, but also can use it outside, like if we're registering for events and stuff like that. And I know you know a lot about that too, if you want to add to it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's really awesome. So the software tool, if you think about like your Facebook, your Instagram, Eventbrite, Slack, all these different social apps that we use like on a day-to-day basis, pretty much is like it's kind of like the Walmart of social apps. It's just like kind of this all-inclusive, streamlined process. And I love it because, we're able to, save people from some email fatigue.
Yes.
As well as like get people getting social within the network.
Yeah.
Like, you and I are 2 people.
Yeah.
Trying to manage these 150 leaders, and being able to, again, further empower the network and create that network density within those leaders.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a great tool to help that make it happen.
So I want to hone in a little bit on a word that you said, which was network density. And I think that's really important. If I walk into a room and I know everyone, that's a certain level of density. But if we can get everybody else to know everyone, and then maybe those people know their counterparts in another city and they know each other, we're making a stronger network density. Yeah. And so that is the goal. Like you have to start somewhere, but the more and more all these leaders and people know each other, the easier we are responding to things faster. Or they might go, "Oh, I already know the answer to that. I know exactly who to send you to," instead of asking someone else who might ask someone else.
Sure.
Like that is extremely important for our county. So the network density, that's a big thing. Okay, I have 2 more. Sorry, 2 more areas to finish your last question.
Oh, in terms of our current initiatives.
So
Awesome.
2 more, I'll finish real quick. COPE is an event that we do normally once to 2 times a year. It stands for Cost of Poverty Experience, and this is a live simulation of what it's like to be in the cycle of poverty. And someone comes in, they're given a real life story. Hey, you're Susie, single mom that has a kid. You just lost your job. You don't have a car. Hey, you live in Ellis County. We don't have mass transportation. What do you do? Yeah. And then there's resource tables set up. And one resource table might be the bank. One might be the grocery store. One might be the school. One might be the court system. All the different areas that one might need to go. And you play almost the game of life to try to navigate what it's like to be in that cycle. And poverty is not just financial. Poverty can be relational. It can be spiritual. It can be multiple levels of. It's not just financial. And a lot of times, and I probably thought this at one point too, it might be easy for someone to say, "Well, we'll just work harder," or "We'll just pull yourself up." Like I don't understand. It's your choices. Like one could say, it's your choices of why you're there. And to understand, now that I'm like really working with some of these situations, they really do get like stuck in a situation that sometimes it's like, I don't know how to get you out of this. Yeah. If someone comes and say they're actively homeless and they want to go into a housing shelter in Dallas and they're married, well, let's go ahead and see your marriage certificate. What are they going to have their filing system in their car?
Right.
Or we had one lady that was older and was born in a house like almost 100 years ago, never had a birth certificate. And so start anything without having a birth certificate.
Yeah, that's hard.
And trying to get her assistance. I mean, the whole important documents, that's a whole topic in and of itself of how far you can get. And then you're homeless and you need to apply for a driver's license. Where are you mailing the information when it comes back to you? So someone has to have a P.O. box. So, I mean, there is a lot that goes into how someone can get caught in a problem situation, and if no one's walking with them, it can be very difficult to get out. So that's COPE. It's a really good event.
I want to stop you there for just a second.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned relational poverty. Can you talk a little bit about maybe like the growth of Ellis County and some of these transplants that come into the county and how that relational poverty like affects everything else in their life and the need for a good support system?
Yeah, that's really good. So I feel, obviously, I think everybody knows that Ellis County is growing very quickly. Just recently, we were on the map of, I think, top 8 in the nation, fastest growing counties, which is unbelievable. So you bring someone in new and, maybe they go to church, and so they're going to go try to find a church, and you still don't know anyone, and you got to get it figured out. Maybe they don't go to church. Maybe they don't have kids that belong to the soccer team, and you're here, and all of a sudden, like, how do they know anyone? So just look at it from the mental health angle of loneliness and isolation, especially from the pandemic, is one of our top, like, the Surgeon General came out and said this is an epidemic. We're in an epidemic of loneliness and isolation. And so if we're not addressing this just in the pure sense of relationships, of how that person who's going, hey, how are you today? Let's go to coffee and talk. You're missing an entire mental health level that we could all be helping with just relationally, not to even mention like how they're even receiving resources. So the relational poverty, the mental health side of it, and just the growth rate of our county, like it's pretty important of how often we just stay in our little bubble and don't get to know the people that we might be right alongside of every single day. There are a lot of lonely people, and it makes me really sad actually to think about it. So
you said you had one more
last
initiative that we're doing?
So we see ourselves at Unite as a convener. So again, I'm constantly having to remind myself, okay, I'm not a mental health organization, I'm not a housing organization or whatever, but we are conveners. So we want to make sure that everybody's collaborating and coming together. So we convene not only on the local level, so all of these network teams, they meet monthly geographically. Our housing team meets monthly. Our mental health team meets monthly. Our quarterly, our city level leaders and up, they come together quarterly, and then twice a year we bring everyone together at County Convene, which it makes me very happy when this comes, because you look around the room and just see all these amazing people. And that's when we come together, give an update. Anybody that doesn't know about Unite, that's where they can get to know us a little bit more. They can figure out, like, how do I fit into this? But it's also where our sectors can get together and collaborate, or however that works. Like, I love standing back and just watching everybody. Like, we could probably have networking time for like an hour, and then we'd still have to be stopping them. But so that comes twice a year, and that's a really big thing that I really like to do, is just to bring everybody together. I think that's it. I'll probably come up with something else here in a second, but that's probably the list.
One of the things that comes to my mind is the mini pantries across the county. I did forget it. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what a mini pantry is and what that initiative is looking like?
So our network teams, like each of the geographic teams, again, we let them come up with what they see as a need in their geographic area. And then, okay, is this something y'all want to do? So some areas have focused really specifically on their schools, supporting, like we have churches partnered with schools so they can make sure they have what they need, or they're going and praying over schools, or whatever the need is there. And so working with, I guess it started in Midlothian, they were talking about, with me in a house, wanting to set up mini pantries on all the Midlothian school campuses. And so that would be nutritional snacks, that would be take-home meals, like if a kid needed to take home like Hamburger Helper or something like that. It's also school supplies for the student and the teacher, and then hygiene, maybe some clothing, anytime someone needs to change out some clothing or whatever. And so, of course, that process, every campus and school looks different. Every need is different. Some may already have something, some doesn't. Some's like, I have a whole room you could use. Some are like, I have this tiny little pantry here, little drawer here. So all of that's being worked on to coordinate a church being partnered with the school to keep that pantry stocked every year. But then we were like, let's do this everywhere. So at all of the geographic meetings, we said, hey, this is going on. Do you want to do this here? What does it look like here? And so now we've set the goal of making sure all 56-ish school campuses across the county have some sort of access to something like that in a mini pantry. So that's what we're working on right now.
And so I'm sure that looks different across every city.
Totally different. Yeah. Again, some are like, oh, we've already got it. We're good to go. We're like, great, check it off. Others, like in Palmer, they want to do more of a community one where it's outside of the school and you can access it from outside. So others might say, oh, Mentors Care is on every high school in our county, and they already kind of have a little box. Well, can we expand that to more than just the Mentors Care kids, So every one of them looks different, but as long as we're kind of pivoting to make sure it fits that area, that's all that matters. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. For somebody watching this podcast, listening to it, how can people get involved? People are like, man, that sounds awesome. I want to feed students. I want to get on the care portal. I want to do all these things. Yeah,
absolutely. So first thing, if someone is available to attend our monthly meetings, that's one way if they want to go to their local meetings. So our 10 regions, we have Ennis, Waxahachie, Red Oak, Midlothian. And then our more rural teams all come together as well. We have Ferris, Palmer, Avalon, Italy, Milford, and Maypearl.
Now, Palmer is their own separate meeting, right?
Yes, Palmer's their own meeting. Ferris might be moving to their own meeting as well. So every one of them is kind of different. But so you identify what area you would be tied to. If you would like to get involved in that area and you can come to the monthly meeting, then reach out to us and to figure out when that meeting is. If you're like, I really want to help, but I can't come to a monthly meeting during the day, one thing is to get on Care Portal. I mean, that is becoming more and more, and it's free. Like any individual can go online just to receive the notifications coming up. That is one of our biggest ways that once a need comes in, we're putting it right into Care Portal, and then it's emailing it out. So that's another big thing. Getting on our email list. We don't send a ton of emails, but it's mainly around, when we have like county convene and big events coming up. So that way you can come to that, and then also on the Facebook page and Instagram now.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, so following those, that's where we're going to be pushing out more and more. So I think those are probably the main ways. And other than that, just reach out to us. I'm sure we'll include our information. And let us know, like, what's your area of interest? Like, hey, I want to really work with people here and here. Or I'm an organization that does this. I want to get plugged in. Like, our nonprofit meets. Mission Matters is coming up soon. Come to that. So there's always a way to get plugged in. So just let us know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for meeting today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited about Unite Ellis.
Yeah.
And, for those of you that want more information, you can go to our website, uniteellis.org, and we'll have tons of information for you to go through. But,
yeah.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Chris.